I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, September 18th, 2015. The WNW number 208. The Federal Reserve is not going to raise interest rates. Lots of drama leading up to this decision that they say they were vexing over. Most of the Fed governors said, oh, yeah, don't raise rates except for one. There was one dissenter who wanted to raise it 0.25%, but Fed is not raising interest rate, and this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we do not have a recovery. We don't have a recovery on Main Street, and as I've been telling you for many months, years, that we don't have a real recovery on Main Street. We have a recovery on Wall Street. We have a recovery in asset prices. Lloyd Blankfein, who should have been fired at Goldman, is now a billionaire 7 years later, since the 2008 meltdown. We don't have an economic recovery. Not when they decide that they can't even raise interest rates 0.25%. The data point after data point shows that. I mean, let's just start right here. This is student debt. Okay, right here, student debt. And if you go over here, let's just look at the chart. Straight up, food stamps. You go right over here, federal debt over here, up here. And then we come over here. This is, money printing just took off. This is, you can see what happened. And then we have health care. It's supposed to be cheaper. Yeah, right, not cheaper. And then, over here, we got labor force participation rate. Then if we just come right down here, this is home ownership. This is median family income, and this is workers' share of the economy. Stuff that shouldn't be going up is going up, and things that are should be going up are going straight down. This is just one disaster after another. I mean, the one that really shocks me, because you keep hearing all this great stuff, about home ownership. And look at this right here. I mean, this is just nothing but a sled ride down, 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 down. That's not prosperity, folks. Those are renters. The deeper that line goes, the more renters there are. People aren't owning things. That's what's going on in the economy. And the Fed knows all of this, but I swear there was a big PSYOP program, a psychological operation program with the mainstream media and written press and the video press. CNN was out saying that, raising rates wouldn't be bad. Here's something on USA Today talking about a rate hike not likely to spook the economy, like they're really having to worry about this. Then there's all these other, data points that are out there with Christine Lagarde making public statements. She's the managing director of the International Monetary Fund. She's making public statements warning the Fed not to raise rates. Can't she just call Janet Yellen? Can't she just get on the phone? Hey, girlfriend, it's me, Christine Lagarde. Yeah, don't raise rates. Why does she have to make public statements? I think because if they were afraid that they may do it and they didn't want to take the blame. World Bank, the same thing. That it would cause, panic in the markets. Turmoil and panic was the phrase the World Bank said if the Fed raised rates. Why do they just get on the phone and call them and say, yeah, this will cause turmoil and panic? Why do they have to make public statements? I don't know if it's because they don't want to blame or if it's a big PSYOP program, like they really might raise rates to try to have some integrity, that it was really a tough decision. I don't know. But listen, not only that, but the real big headline is the hint that Janet Yellen will use all of her tools, which is negative interest rates and more QE. And really negative interest rates. And you know who brought up the specter of negative interest rates if the economy got too bad? Gregory Mannarino, TradersChoice.net. He said it to me more than once, and he said it in one of our past interviews. He said, they'll do everything they can to try to prop this up. Or they might have to have their credibility and raise rates. That's what David Stockman says they're going to have to raise rates. But he said, brought up the specter of negative interest rates. Depositing money, and then while your money is in there, the banks take it. They don't pay you interest. They take a small fraction of it. And so I talked to Mannarino today, and he said, listen, I wanted to point something out to me that was really important, and it just hit me like, Helen Keller moment. He said, we wouldn't need to continue emergency monetary policy of 0% interest rates if the economy was good, because 0% interest rates was an emergency monetary policy. And now that's been going on for 80 months, and it may go they may at the Federal Reserve force rates to go negative. Oh, and also maybe print some QE, some more money printing. This is confirmation that the economy is in deep trouble. 80 months of 0% interest rates, massive amounts of QE, phony accounting. This economy should be taken off like a rocket. And it's not. The global economy is tail spinning. Manarino also said, and here's a quote from him, he says, at some point the dose becomes toxic and turns to poison and kills the patient. And the dose he's talking about are the 80 months of 0% interest rates and the quantitative easing, the bond buying, which, listen, is fraud. They bought fraud at the Fed. They sold liar loans, which is mortgage fraud. They packaged liar loans into securities. That's securities fraud. They rated them AAA when indeed they were not. They were not risk-free. That's what AAA means. And then when it all blew up, they committed forgery and perjury and fraud on the court. Robo-signing was not a bunch of people signing things fast. They were creating documents, and they had to have ink on the paper and the promissory notes to take the houses back in, 2/3 of the states. They had to create promissory. You think you pay for your house in 30 years. You do not. When you sign your John Henry on the contract, that ink on that document, that original document, can be securitized. It's money. It's valuable. Just like a promissory note and a Federal Reserve note, debt instrument. You can't make a copy of a Hyundai and go to 7-Eleven and buy a Slurpee and get some change. It's the original document, even if the copy's great. Yeah, the whole economy is just propped up by fraud. I'll get to more of that in a minute. And on top of the bad news, people like Nobel Prize winning economists. I found this on the back page of USA Today. And look at the headline. Shiller warns again about U.S. stock market bubble. Remember, he won a Nobel Prize in economics. And he had his book, Irrational Exuberance. And before the 2000 crash, he said that, this thing was going to blow up. This is way, 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 way overvalued. And look, again, here he's warning of stocks being in a bubble. And consequently, we just hit the biggest double top in history, according to ZeroHedge.com. The biggest double top in history of the stock market. What that means is that it's all downhill from here when you have a double top, a historic double top in the stock market. On top of that, I had David Stockman, who is the former Reagan White House budget director in the 80s. He knows something about big numbers. And he said, and I got to tell you, I read his direct quote. This is a direct quote. I didn't make this up. He said, financial system is booby-trapped with debt bombs. You should, if you haven't seen that interview, you should go back and watch it. It's not that long. It's about 20 minutes long. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it on usawatchdog.com. He very clearly said this is not an if, this is a when the bond market will unwind, and it's going to be ugly. And he talked about how much more debt there is in the world and in America. In the last 20 years, even in the last 7 years, there's way more debt. And the debt that can't be paid, that's just going to blow up, that's going to evaporate. The bonds are just going to be unpayable, according to David Stockman. I said my phrase, we've all been told debt is money and debt is an asset, and we're going to find out neither is true. And he's, the money in your bonds is going to go poof. It's not an if, it's a when. And here's his when. He says sometime between now and the end of the 2016 election cycle for president. That's when he thinks it'll blow up. He says it won't go on beyond that. Anytime between now and the end of the 2016 election cycle. Now listen to this, folks. This is a former top Washington insider, a guy with 20 years experience on Wall Street at a high-level position. This is not a coup. And also a Nobel Prize winning economist in economics, Robert Shiller. They are both saying the same things about stocks and bonds, that they're overvalued and they're going to blow. I'd listen to them. Well, CNN, a company I used to work for, was the big loser in the GOP debate. I mean, come on. I mean, they announced they want to have some food fight, some Animal House thing. Well, Mr. Trump said that. Well, Mr. Trump said, what do you think about? I mean, come on. CNN basically made him confirmed he was the front runner. There is no question about that. They confirmed he was the front runner. He was the guy on top. And if you take a look at the left and the right, I mean, listen, the left and the right hate Donald Trump. Check this out. I just want to show you this. This is they're one of their little op-ed pieces, one of their little Q&A, and slay the Trump monster. This was earlier this week, and this is these two guys. This is the Bob Beckel, the Democrat, Cal Thomas, and they not very much they agree on, but they agree they should slay the Trump monster. Yeah, we don't want a self-funded guy. Who isn't beholden to special interest groups. We want people who are beholden to elites and super PACs. We don't want people who are beholden to we the people. We don't want anybody cutting in our action. That's what they're afraid of. And if you take a look at USA Today, here we are. And I think the tone at CNN was very anti-Trump. I think that's unfair. Whether you like his politics or not, and I'm not stumping for Trump. I'm just stumping for fairness. I think that's unfair. And here's another one I just want to show you. And this is one of my pet peeves with USA Today. This was earlier this week. Trump attacks dominate debate. No, I don't think they actually did. But that's what CNN wanted. And then if you take a look here, I want to get close here to this this little part of the paper right here. Here is what Susan Page, who should be ashamed of calling this journalism. It could call it news analysis. Oh, that's right. On the front page, op-ed on the front page. But we're going to call it something because we want to control your thoughts. We want to get you to think a certain way. Can you say President Trump? And then here we have Republican rivals. Assail character. Call him unfit to lead. Really? Trump unfit to lead. He's a billionaire worth $10 billion. He's pretty much self-made. He did have some family money, but nowhere near $10 billion. And, his experience is global. And, Barack Obama was a community organizer who spent 2 years in the Senate. And if that is your qualifications for president, I think Trump has enough qualifications to be president based on the qualifications Barack Obama had to be president. And this just chafes me here. Calling something, news analysis for op-ed. And we want to thought control you people. We want you to hate Donald Trump because, the real problem with Donald Trump is he can win. That is the problem with Donald Trump. I mean, remember when David Duke ran? Nobody really attacked him. He could win. Even Ron Paul, he didn't even attack that he got left out, omitted, but he couldn't win. Other people who've run that they didn't attack him. They're attacking Donald Trump because he can win, and attacking him from both sides. And, I don't know who won or about. Trump won. He won. He was framed the front runner, so he won. Fiorina did okay. She'd had some moments. Cruz, Rubio, make a good attorney general and secretary of state, both those guys. Cruz would be attorney general, Rubio, secretary of state. And Fiorina, maybe a vice presidential candidate. But we have a long way to go. I mean, Christie did some good stuff, too. I mean, he pointed out that was juvenile and what they were asking. We had a lot of problems, and we should worry about the middle class. Of course, nobody's going to point out the massive fraud in the economy. Massive fraud. That's what's really... you're never going to fix the economy unless you get rid of the fraud. And it is fraud that is documented. They have had paid fines for rigging LIBOR. They have had criminal prosecutions where they admitted to rigging the Forex market, $5.3 trillion a day. The LIBOR, London Interbank Offered Rate, sets interest rates, in the hundreds of trillions of dollars around the globe. Admitted to it. They admitted to laundering money for drug cartels, countries on the State Department terror list. They admitted to all that if they rigged the Forex market, they rigged the gold and silver markets. I mean, it's phony accounting. It's just massive money printing, overt and covert, massive fraud propping up the economy. Not a single word about it. But here's a little story I saw on USA Today, and I just wanted to bring this up. This is our Attorney General. This is Loretta Lynch right there. And look at the headline here. Now, I just told you about massive fraud. Not a single big banker has gone to jail, right? Attorney General, more arrests expected in soccer pro. She's worried about global soccer. She's going to spend the resources of the Justice Department on soccer. Really, that's our big problem? What a scam. And I just wanted to point out one other thing out because I'm still talking about the economy, and the economy should have been part of the debates, and it wasn't part of the debates. And here, this is from USA Today from May 4th, 2015. I saved this for the appropriate time. Fear not, I wonder where they got that. This May, October looks better than others. Really? We lost more than 2,000 points on the stock market. The markets are gyrating up and down in bogus directions, including days where they had 1,000 points down. We just had the Federal Reserve say the economy is so weak that they cannot raise interest rates, and they're hinting at more QE and negative interest rates. And this May, October looks better than others. How bad can you miss? I mean, really. Well, I guess we have the end of October. Then maybe things will turn around by the end of October. But back to the debates and Trump and the stuff that wasn't covered. They're not covering anything about the massive fraud in the economy because, the bankers are bankrolling a lot of these guys. Not Trump. And that's the point I wanted to make. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I'm neither Democrat, Republican. I'd like the best person to win, but it looks like it's, one body and two heads in one body. I mean, they just take turns ripping us off, as I always say. But I will say that I kind of like the fact that both the Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment both fear and hate Trump. And that can't be all bad. He just might do something for average Americans and ignore the special interests. I mean, we can only wish for that to happen, but I kind of like that. Donald Trump cannot be bought. And that scares the heck out of the establishment because he may cut in on their action. He doesn't need the money, so whatever he does, he's going to try to do for the betterment of the country. And the people he's going to get don't need the money. I mean, they don't need a $300,000 a year job. They don't. So, listen, that's my take on that. We're more than a year away from the election. Some people hint that there may not even be an election. It may get so bad. I don't know. I hope there is an election. That means it won't get that bad. But Trump is the front runner. There's some jockeying up and down in the background, but he's the front runner, and I don't think that he is going to do something that stupid where he gets completely knocked out of the box. I don't. And the Fiorino moment was a teaching moment for him. He's not going to do that again. You watch. He won't. And the other thing is that Trump is not going to run out of money. Nobody's going to cut off his cash. A couple of little odds and ends I wanted to bring up. And that was the thing in Syria, which is, I mean, listen, the Russians are serious about not letting Syria fall, period, the end. They're sending, I've been talking about this, helicopters, jets, troops. They're going to go after ISIS. And then the Obama administration, oh, that's disruptive. That's dangerous. I thought we were supposed to go after ISIS. With the 5 fighters, it cost $41 million to train. Yes, 5 fighters cost us $41 million to train. That's how inept our fight against ISIS is. Well, the Russians, want to talk to make sure we don't start World War III. And at least the Obama administration is smart enough to, talk with the Russians to make sure, we don't get into, aerial dogfights over Syria. So that's, this is not exactly good news that they're going to just figure out who's going to bomb who. That's, that is a problem. Then there are all the borders because of this. All the European, Eastern European, Southern, South, Eastern European borders, and also countries like Germany cracking down. They're imposing, border controls. They've got big problems with that. Now, this is a security problem because they say that Al Qaeda is infiltrating these poor refugees. It's also an economic problem, and the European nations are in full-blown recession, most of them. Most of those countries are in full-blown recession, if not depression, and they can't handle the financial cost of taking in all these refugees. On top of that, there are reports that some of these people are military-aged men. I don't know if you've seen the videos on the Hungarian border where they're throwing rocks and bottles and cans, and yeah, that's the people you want to let in your country. And so that's a nightmare of a problem over there in Europe, and it doesn't look like with Russia sending tanks and planes and troops and us talking about who's going to bomb who and what are the ground engagement rules. Just doesn't look good at all. It doesn't look like the problem's going to get better before it gets far worse. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Remember, fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. God's in charge. Fear not.